Good afternoon, OUA football fans. Welcome to our semifinal preview show. My name is Adam Jenkins, and with me today is the 2015 Yates Cup champion, Alec Reid. The first game we're going to talk about today is the McMaster Marauders and the Laurier Goldhawks. And Alec, it hasn't been a very long time since these two teams last met. What do you think both teams learn about each other from that meeting that they're going to bring into this game today?
Well, it's really just been 2 weeks since they've seen each other, but I think what they're going to learn is McMaster has found that they have a running back in Jordan Lyons that they can hand the ball to and really just gain yards at will. And for Laurier, I think it's the fact that they learned that they can beat McMaster. They beat them 40-15. I think that's going to play a huge factor here today.
Now, identical records for these two teams in the regular season at 6-2, but the real difference between McMaster and Laurier is Laurier loves the offense. They've been really successful, whereas McMaster, a dominant defensive force in this conference.
Well, you could argue McMaster the best defensive team in the country. You could argue Laurier one of the best offensive teams in the country. It's truly going to be a slugfest between two teams that are just like going to meet head on head. It's going to be an absolute battle when they're on the field.
Looking forward to that fire and ice head-to-head collision we're about to see. Let's break down some of the tape. We're going to start with the Laurier Goldenhawks. As we mentioned, a solid season, only losses to Western and then a hiccup against the Guelph Griffins.
Well, that's what you can call it, is a hiccup. I think we all can agree that Laurier was the favorite in that game, and they just got caught. I think they overlooked Guelph a little bit, but other than that, really not struggling from that Yates Cup hangover that we've seen a few times. We saw Guelph, especially last season, with the Yates Cup hangover. Laurier really just came out and in all assets of the game just dominated. They absolutely destroyed Waterloo 71-24 in the Battle of Waterloo, and that, like we said, that 40-15 win against Mac was their response from that loss against Guelph.
Now, one of the reasons they have been so successful on offense is the dominant 1-2 punch of Neville and Gordon. Tell me about those two. Why are they some of the best in Canada?
Well, they feed very well off of each other. You have the best, arguably the best quarterback in Michael Neville, over 324 yards per game and 15 touchdowns on the year. But you couple that with Lavondre Gordon, who gets over 100 yards per game, and he has 8 touchdowns. You can see how well those two work together, especially on the play action game. It really puts defenses on edge because linebackers have to respect the run ability of Lavondre Gordon and the pass ability of Michael Neville. Really is tough to defend and probably the best 1-2 punch in the entire country.
Now, while the Laurier Goldenhawks play a more pretty style of football, pretty in the sense of football you want to watch with the aerial assaults, the passing game, McMaster, not so much. They play a little more of a gritty game with a lot of sandpaper in there, and they really showed off that grit against the Queens Gales last week in the quarterfinals.
Absolutely. There's really no other way to put it. They just found a way to win. 12-9, it was an ugly, wet weather game, but they don't ask how. They just found a way to win. They grinded the ball on the ground. They played excellent defense and just found a way to get more points than the other team. You saw that interception on the last drive was really the key moment in that game that sealed the deal. And a 12-9 win doesn't look pretty when you're watching it, but I don't think McMaster's going to care.
Now, defense wins championships. It's a mantra we've heard over and over and over again, but only one touchdown against the Queens Gales. I don't think that's going to cut it against the Laurier Goldenhawks.
Well, no, it definitely isn't, because Laurier's offense is an absolute firepower. You're going to have to go stride for stride with them, but we saw what McMaster's defense did against Guelph. Guelph has a very good defense, and McMaster shut them down basically the entire game, other than a few good kick returns and a few drives here and there. But McMaster really has just found a way to win, and that's really how we've described their year. It's not pretty, but they're 7-2 and they're in the Yates Cup semifinal. You're not going to argue with those results.
Okay, so we previewed the teams for you now. Now let's take a look at some of the X factors. We talked about that dynamic 1-2 punch for Laurier, but neither of them are your X factor. Instead, you're going with Brenton Hall. Why is that? Well,
Brenton Hall has sort of been a sleeper on this dominant Laurier offense. He's not even their number one receiver. Curly Gittins Jr. has the most receptions and the most yards, but every time that Brenton Hall catches the ball, he makes something out of it. Averages 19.4 yards per reception, and he has 5 touchdowns on the year. Brenton Hall, you could throw screens to him, he can take it to the end zone, but his biggest factor is when you throw the ball up to him one-on-one, he is going to come down with it.
With the defense as strong as the McMasters, you might expect your X factor would be a defensive player, but it's not. Instead, you pick Jordan Lyons, the running back.
Well, Jordan Lyons has been sort of just a sleeper for the first half of the year, and then he just came alive in the second half when Jackson White started to struggle a little bit, and we saw it last week against Queens. 319 yards on 39 carries, while he didn't find the end zone, it's unbelievable that he put up almost half the amount of yards in one game that he did the entire season. Jordan Lyons is an X factor because he's so tough to bring down in space, and he can really just grind out a game. He was the only running back on McMaster to carry the ball and was the only ball carrier until the last drive on a QB sneak from Dylan Astrom.
So far the OUA playoffs have gone to chalk. Every favorite has won their game. Do you think that continues? Who's your prediction to win today?
Well, I'm going to go based off of Week 9 when Laurier dominated McMaster. I'm going to go with the Laurier Golden Hawks. I think they're the better team, and I think that the success and the trend of the favored teams winning continues here.
So you can't bet on OUA football, so I have no problem throwing all of my imaginary money on the McMaster Marauders. I don't like to see winners take all. I like to see some upsets. Last time that the Laurier Golden Hawks played in Waterloo, it was 20 degrees outside. It's only going to be around 5 degrees this week, so that coupled with the running game gives me the sleeper pick of the McMaster Marauders. Whoever wins this game will take on the winner between Western and Guelph in the other semifinal. Should the Mustangs win, the Yates Cup will be held in London, Ontario. If not, it will be hosted by the winner of this semifinal. And just a reminder that you can catch all of the digital coverage for the Yates Cup on Saturday, November 11th, beginning at 12:30 with our pregame show that will be streaming live on Twitter, Periscope, Facebook Live, and a whole bunch of other social platforms. So you're not going to want to miss that. And of course, the Yates Cup itself airs at 1 p.m. on CHCH. You're not going to want to miss the biggest game of them all. We'll see who makes it from this first semifinal. That's going to be all the time for Alec and I. Thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoy the ball game, and we'll talk to you next week.